to be respected, so she keeps you with her everywhere under lock and key. No, instead of her doing that, she treats you like you are an object, like a toy or like a piece of trash or something that can be picked up when she wants to be bothered with it, and then once she gets what she wants out of it, throw it in the trash or throw it in the corner or put it in a toy box until she wants to deal with it again. Many times when we are treated like that by a woman that is considered the ideal woman, it devastates our self-esteem at 4 and 5 years old. And then we start to long for her. We start to miss her. We start to yearn for her attention and her affection. And the harder we try to grasp her and hold her and hug her and tell her that we need her, the harder she pushes us away. The more she fights us. We fight her for love, but she fights to get away from us. She fights to tell you that you are nothing and that you're not worthy, you're not important. And when we're left somewhere, those are the feelings that begin to feel, that we begin to internalize. We might not understand it, and we might not be able to tell her, and they may not think we know. But when women, little girls are abandoned, and you're constantly left somewhere, your mother never has time for you, and you're always left someplace you don't want to be, and you have to figure out where she is and when she's coming back. And when she comes back, she still does not care about how you were doing or what happened to you. And she opens the opportunity up for people to rape you and take advantage of you. As a little girl, before you become a teenager and grown woman, you are already programming yourself to say that I'm not special like my mother. I'm not worthy of love and attention. I'm not important. I'm not meant to be loved. I'm not good enough for being loved. Just being here, just breathing makes you worthy of being loved, makes you worthy of being on this planet. Your Creator put you here to do divine things in a way that no one else can do it. But it's very difficult to see that when the adults that are supposed to be your guardians and your caregivers and protect you and mold you and nurture you and teach you about the divine knowledge of your soul and teach you about your spiritual architecture, when they walk away, when they refuse to validate your experience and say you are divine because you're here, the negative aspects of us start to take control and other people start to mold us. When the little girls are raped, when the little girls are molested because the mother walks away. Those are the programs that we start to get. And then it makes it even more devastating when the little girl tries to tell her mother, can you please not leave me here anymore? I don't like this person. I don't want to sit on their lap. I don't want to take any more candy from them. Let me tell you what happened to me. And then the mother ignores her and says, it's your fault. You wanted it. They didn't do anything to you. And the mother will never seek justice for the daughter. The mother will never confront the molester or the sexual abuser. The mother will never do anything to validate the words of the daughter. That's a divine extension of herself. And when a mother refuses to stand up for the daughter, that means that a part of her will not stand up for herself, and she disrespects herself. To dishonor your daughter is to dishonor yourself. That says something about the mother and her own self-hatred and low self-esteem issues she has for who she looks in the mirror. She's not in her mind the ideal that everybody tells her that she is. She doesn't even believe that about herself, because you would never carry a daughter and give birth to a daughter and bring her into this world, to put her on this planet, to be able to train her, to be able to give to the planet and nurture the planet as the planet nurtures her. You would never bring that daughter here and put her in a position to be used, hurt, and abused, first of all. And then if you did put her in that position, if she is violated on some level, if you love, honor, and respect yourself, if you love, honor, and respect the divine reflection of the goddess energy that you see when you look in the mirror, you also realize you give birth to gods and goddesses. So anything that came out of your womb has an infinite purpose and an infinite value that cannot even be described or measured. You can't even comprehend the value, the dollar value for the life that came out of you. And you know that because it is so sacred and so divine, and you know that because it's an extension of your ancestors, you will never let anybody harm or maim it. And if they do, they must pay for it. They must atone for the sin of violating the goddess that came out of the goddess. So that's one thing that the daughters that are wounded by the mothers need to realize. These mothers are in a state of perpetual pain, low self-esteem, shame, and self-hatred that you don't even know about because you have not checked the history of that woman's womb that brought you into this dimension. Most of these women that have given birth to us are stupid, ignorant, and dead. Yes, they brought you forth and you are breathing, you have life, but you came out of a dead womb because that woman is unconscious to the knowledge that she is divine. She is so full of her own issues and her own twisted ideas about who she is and who she isn't. She has no training at all. She does not even have the right psychological and psychic script on how to groom you and how to raise you. And we know she's dumb and ignorant. We know that she is unconscious. We know that she is asleep. Because if she were not asleep and she was conscious to the fact that she was divine and her cells were illuminated with the embryo that was fertilized by the sperm to bring you here, she would never disrespect you, maim you, and shame you, and beat you, and put you in a position to be raped, humiliated, and molested, and degraded by anybody else. So it's the first thing we need to deal with. The first part I dealt with was dealing with her spiritual anatomy. The second part was going into your mother's history so that you can really get what she has done, the sins and the tragedy and the crime that she has committed against you has already been committed against her own soul, and she's already done it to herself. And then when you look at that and you see, I want you to write those things down, as well as go to any counselor that you feel comfortable with, a life coach. You want to go to your pastor to counsel you. You want to find a counselor outside of that. You want to go to a psychiatrist, psychologist. Wherever you need to go, if you feel like you can't do this by yourself and you need support, it is good to have somebody to support you where you live, that you can talk to, and you might be able to physically see them when you need to see them. Because what I'm telling you is what I know from experience. When you start to really think about and go back into the pain and the past of your mother and her history and her family, sometimes that shit will be so painful that it will shut you down. It will actually send you in such a deep state of depression that it is hard to work, it's hard to eat, it's hard to sleep, it's hard to engage anybody. It's even hard to engage yourself because the shock many times from a woman just realizing that her mother does not love her and her mother hates her, and thinking about all the things her mother's done and said can send a woman into cardiac arrest. It can burst your heart chakra, and it can actually send you to a mental institute and cause a lot of women to become drug addicts, to become sex addicts, to become strippers, become porn stars, and to put themselves in a position to hurt themselves, cut themselves, starve themselves, overeat, become extremely obese, because they cannot process the pain. It is such dealing with so much stuff at one time and regurgitating and bringing up so much stuff at one time, or thinking about so many painful memories with the mother and daughter energy, those two female energies, one attacking the other, can be too devastating for your mind to bear. So many times our subconscious will try to pull those things back and compartmentalize them and not allow you to directly remember all of them at one time. You might start getting bits and pieces coming up from a thought when you were 3 years old, when you were 5 years old. You start to remember things that you never thought of because your mind is trying to protect you from having an overload and committing suicide or having a nervous breakdown so that you could stay here. So when you bring up these things, if you feel like you're too weak to deal with it by yourself, it is good to get a counselor to help you break these things up and to support you and to learn how to breathe. It's important to do breath work, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed and you're thinking about something really low down and treacherous that your mother did to you. It's good to really, really breathe in your nose and hold it and release cleansing breath through your mouth. Just release that garbage. Release that negative energy through your mouth. To really, because a lot of times when we get upset, when we start hurting, when we start crying, our body starts to go back through that trauma moment and relive that trauma, and we start to breathe real, real shallow. We can't catch our breath. We feel tightness or pain in our chest, and we feel like we're hyperventilating.